class. Haven't had a class for a couple of weeks. We're continuing on the principles of discovery. And we're up to principle number 10. And principle number 10 is, unless the seeker has an open mind, progress upon the path of discovery will cease. So an open mind is important, because if a person isn't open to receiving more, well, his progress pretty much come to an end. And this happens to many people. The average Christian, for instance, thinks when he feels like he's been saved, well, that's it. That's the end of the journey. Nothing else to consider. He just waits to die and go to heaven now. That's his only thing he's got left to do. But the path is never ending. And so we always have to stay open. Now, the funny thing about being open-minded is everybody thinks they're open-minded. And when Curtis and I first got together and we decided to try and enlighten the Mormons, whenever we got together with some diehard Mormons to try to explain things to them, one of the first things Curtis asked them always was, do you consider yourself to be open-minded? And I can't remember anyone ever saying no. They always said, well, yeah, I'm open-minded. And what happened next, Curtis?
Well, then we'd try to fill their open mind with some new information. And you found out that their mind was pretty closed after all.
Yeah, that's what Curtis would do. He then would ask them a controversial question and give them some information that wasn't specifically authorized by the church. And all of a sudden that open mind just went out the window.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that the elders stopped by my place yesterday. They've been coming by a little bit, and I gave them some information, some documents and things I had written. And I said, now here, go take this, go read this. And you're on a new path of discovery, and come back and tell me what you think. So we'll see how open-minded they are. I haven't hit them with reincarnation yet. That's a little bit beyond their ring past knot.
Yeah, every once in a while, Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons that come knock on the door, and I give them reincarnation in the Bible. Especially Jehovah's Witnesses were worse than the Mormons. I mean, when this Jehovah's Witness had it in his hand, he acted like he had a hot coal in his hand, like he couldn't wait to do something with it, throw it away or something. I mean, it was, he couldn't wait to get away from me. I mean, that was a really great way to chase those guys off so they don't waste your time, is to just bring up reincarnation in the Bible with them. And or with Mormons, reincarnation and Joseph Smith. Because he pretty much believed in it. So yeah, it's interesting how people just do not understand themselves. They think they're open-minded, but they're not. And you know, look at us. Maybe I think everybody here is more open-minded than average, but maybe even with us, there's areas where we're not as open as we should be. This is what we've always have to check with ourselves. And this is an important part of progression as you go along. Always have to be aware of yourself, always have to remind yourself, well, am I being as open as I should be? Now you can go the reverse. Some people are too open-minded. I mean, their mind's like a sieve, so to speak. So no matter what somebody says, they believe it, you know, without questioning. And this is not really true open-mindedness. This is,
Gullibility.
yeah, gullibility probably be the better word for it, because the open mind doesn't necessarily accept everything, it considers everything. The gullible mind doesn't really consider, it just accepts everything without weighing it one way or another. The open mind will weigh it. If you say something kind of unusual to somebody that's open-minded, they will say, well, let me check that out. Let me consider it. Let me think about it. Let me get more information on it. If he's closed-minded, he doesn't want more information. He doesn't want to check it out. He doesn't want to consider it. If he's just gullible, then he doesn't really check it out either. He just accepts it. Especially if his guru or authority figure in life tells him something, they will often accept it without weighing it or checking the evidence. So,
Hey, Joe, I was gonna say, it's interesting, in the Mormon church, a lot of times when we were approaching them with new information, they say, you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to think about that. We have leaders that do our thinking. And when the leaders speak, the thinking has been done.
right, that's an actual quote from one of the authorities. When the leaders speak, the thinking has been done.
Yeah. I got such a kick out of that.
Yeah.
I tell students that even an old god can learn new tricks.
Yeah, and you know, the older you get, the less open-minded people as a whole are. And those of us who are over 60, for instance, have to make sure we stay flexible, because it's more difficult to stay open-minded as you get older, because people get set in their ways. So young people are bad enough. You know, some of this rising generation, they're really close to a lot of things. They're anti-free speech, for instance. Anti-free speech is the worst closed-mindedness there is in our civilization. And there's close to 50% of the millennials that think there should be laws prohibiting certain types of speech. It's quite alarming. When I was young, almost everybody believed in free speech, even speech they didn't like, and they liked the quote, I will defend to the death your right to say whatever you want to say, type of thing. But not anymore. They don't, a lot of people just, I mean, speech is a really big deal. And if you hurt their feelings, well, then you should be punished. That's the way a lot of people are looking at it these days. What tested my open-mindedness a while back was the flat earth people. Now, I checked into this when I was younger, when hardly anyone believed in the flat earth. I found there was actually a flat earth society, I think is back in the 70s or 80s. And I thought, how in the, is there actually a group somewhere that believes in a flat earth? I know I didn't think such a group existed, but I found out there was one. It was just a small group of people that believed the earth was flat. And I was curious about how they could come up with that. And I read some information on them, and I thought, well, at least they have what seems logical to them, but it doesn't seem logical to me. But then a couple of years ago, all of a sudden I started seeing this flat earth people posting stuff on different groups, like it's normal to believe in flat earth. And I had some conversations with some of them, and they were accused me of being closed-minded. So I said, okay, I'll watch some of you, but they have a whole bunch of videos out that's supposed to prove the earth is flat. And so I watched maybe 4 or 5 of these videos, and I thought, well, that's enough, you know, because nothing is convincing here in these videos. But they come up with some interesting information. But so anyway, then after this, whenever I encounter one, I'll tell them, I've already watched 4 or 5 videos on this, and I've determined that the Earth is not flat, But they did a survey, poll a while back, showed that close to 25% of the people were not sure the Earth was not flat. And so this flat Earth thing really took hold. Now, I think, now that was a couple of years ago. I haven't checked into it lately, but now Elon Musk and Bezos is sending ships into space. And, in the past, they've accused NASA of being the main one to say that we went to the moon, and we've got satellites up there and everything. They think everybody is lying about that. And so the more people we send up that actually look out of the window of a spaceship and see the round Earth, the fewer people will be deceived by such a thing. But anyway, I'd say the flat Earth idea is perhaps one of the greatest tests of whether a person will be open-minded or not, because it really takes an open mind to say, okay, I'll watch a couple videos to see if the Earth is flat or not, see what your evidence is. But anyone had any confrontation with flat Earth people themselves? Part of the reason is most of them, not all of them, but most of them are into literal interpretation of the Bible, and the Bible gives them an impression that there's some dome above the Earth, and the stars are just little lights in the dome, and the moon is just not very far away, maybe 100 miles up, and the sun is not very far away either. And a while back, this guy built this rocket. He was going to go up and prove that the dome was there, and he fires this rocket up and he winds up killing himself. So it was kind of quite an interesting bunch of.
You mean they got to him, JJ?
What's that?
They got to him. That
Yeah.
killing himself, it was a cover story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, JJ, I had an experience with a friend of mine who started to turn into a flat earther, and he was trying to get me to convert. And I told him, I said, Scott, I says, I've always thought you were fairly intelligent. I says, but if you make me believe that you believe that the Earth is flat, you diminish that pride that I have in you. And he grabbed a hold of himself and took a second look at it.
Yeah.
That's the most stupidest thing you can think of. Flat Earth.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, well, we'll do something different here. I wrote a quiz called How Open-Minded You Are. And I've got it posted in my Seeker's Guide if you want to take it and get the score and everything. We won't score anybody here, but we'll just talk about these situations. Okay, I'm going to ask some questions and then figure out how you would answer. The politician who you least like, who you don't like the most, comes up with a plan for world peace. So that politician, if you're a Trump supporter, it would be Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Biden or somebody like that. If you're a Biden supporter, it would be Trump or Ted Cruz or somebody like that. Okay. So the politician you like the least comes up with a plan. How do you respond? A, I would assume that the plan was as bad as the rest of his ideas. B, I would listen to the proposal, but I know I wouldn't like it. And C, I would listen to the proposal with the idea that it may contain something of value. Okay, now I gotta admit, for some politicians I know, I'd have to maintain a real open mind to think that they could come up with something of value, but I think we should keep an open mind about all things like that. Any comment on that question? How about you, Tyler? Are you open-minded to people on the different belief system or what plans they come up with?
I don't think I am.
It's kind of difficult, isn't it?
I mean, it depends, you know, if I see it coming out of certain people's mouths, it's hard for me to do it. If that, you know, if it comes from somewhere where I don't know the person, then I can possibly look at it with more of an unbiased look, but it's difficult.
Yeah, some people you know good enough that you know that the next plan they come up with won't be any better than their last plan. But on the other hand, maybe they talk to somebody intelligent that actually give them some idea that was good. So that's a possibility too. So, okay, well, a good honest answer there, Tyler. Number 2. An acquaintance wants you to listen to what you consider to be the worst music in existence, so he can explain to you why it has value. A, you would not consider such a thing. B, you would listen, but it would have no redeeming value. Or C, you would listen with the idea that this person may perceive something of value that you do not. But we'll pick on Tyler again since I see his face there. Is there certain types of music you just not interested in at all?
Oh, of course.
So you have a friend that wants you to listen to, what do you do?
Well, it depends if they're like right there with me, like, here, listen to this, you know, if they're pressuring me right there, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. If they like email me something, then I'll probably just ignore it. But, you know, again, I don't know.
Yeah, the email that's in there or messaging, you get all kinds of people saying, hey, watch this or listen to this. There's a lot more than you have time to watch there.
I don't think that I would absolutely not listen to any of it. You know, because you have to give something a chance.
Yeah.
But you know, as far as like listening to the whole album or all of the songs, I don't know that I'd do that, but I don't know. I've never been presented with doing that really.
Yeah, maybe, and plus, even though his taste is a lot different than yours, maybe he's come across a different type of music that might be pleasant. Who knows, huh? So give him at least 5 minutes. I wouldn't give him more than about 5 minutes myself, but it doesn't take too long to figure out if you like a certain type of music or not. Okay. You're at a party and you meet a person who says he's a member. This is a flat earth thing right here. You're at a party and you meet a person who says he's a member of the Flat Earth Society. He tells you that the stars above are an illusion. The earth is really flat and we only appear to be circling around the sun. He seriously tells you that he can logically prove all of this. If you would just listen to him for a few moments, what do? A, the man is obviously a crackpot and you excuse yourself. B, you listen for entertainment value only. C, you listen at least partly because you want to see if his thought has any logical foundation. So how would you answer that, Nick?
I would say C on that one.
Yeah, B, it would be interesting to see if he has any logic behind it. Okay, 4, you have a 6-year-old daughter. This is kind of a cute one. You have a 6-year-old daughter who, as far as you know, is completely normal. One day she comes to you out of the blue and says some space people are in contact with her by mental telepathy, and that they have an important message for the people of the earth. How would you react? A, I would feel she has a problem and take her for professional help of some kind. B, ignore the problem and hope it goes away. Or C, I would question her with a mind open to the possibility that the communication may be valid. Let's pick a parent here. Adam, are you still there? He's a parent. He must have taken a break. See if any other parents are still here. Liesel, are you still here?
I'm here.
Okay, you got kids, right? What if,
Yep,
what if one of your kids come up and says they're in contact with space people?
I'd ask them lots of questions. I'd want to know everything that they know.
Yeah. We had a grandkid a while back told us he used to live on Mars and give us quite a few descriptions of it. I found it quite fascinating. So, yeah.
I've had a few of my kids when they're younger talk to me about past lives without really saying that. They'd be like, when I was a dad, and I would be like, tell me more, tell me more, tell me about when you were a dad. It's pretty interesting when you don't shut down that communication, what is open and what you can find out from children.
Right. Oftentimes kids they'll come up with stuff from past lives and things that are actually true, or maybe have an invisible friend that's maybe something real. And the first thing the typical parent will do will tell them how silly that is, that it's not true. And they believe their parents, so they shut down those memories and for the rest of their lives. Whereas the parent should, be open to whatever the kid comes up with. Kids do have imagination, and they come up with things that are false, but not always. Sometimes they're tuning into something that's real. So it's,
You know what I would do, JJ,
yeah.
is I would tell the kid, the next time those space guys talk to you, you tell them I want to talk to them. You tell them to come over and talk with me.
Yeah. Okay, 5. A representative of a religious cult knocks on your door and wants you to read a pamphlet proving that their leader is God incarnate. What do? A, slam the door on him before he can explain why he's there. B, politely listen to him but refuse the pamphlet. C, take the pamphlet but not read it. D, take the pamphlet and read it. Okay, well, we got Stacy's picture there. What would you do, Stacy?
Well, the many times I've had them knock on my door and put a pamphlet in my hand, I always thank them and I say, hey, you guys want to hear some really good truths? You know anything about reincarnation? And they'll either come in the house or they'll walk away. So I win no matter which way it goes. But I have fun with them. I educate them a little bit and they walk away lightheaded.
Yeah, if they're religious, nothing scares them off more than if you mention the word reincarnation. So if they're a standard religion, that does scare them off. Yeah, I always take their pamphlet. I don't always read it. I read the headlines. And if it's just kind of standard stuff like come to Jesus and be saved, you pretty much know what's in there. But if it says something like, Jesus is going to show up next month, well, yeah, I'll check that out and see what they got to say about that. Okay, next. An old friend who has a reputation of being eccentric and whose advice caused you to lose money in the past approaches you with a surefire, get-rich-quick business venture. It requires $10,000 investment, which you happen to have at the time. And he tells you that you should be able to get your money back tenfold in a month and possibly have financial security for the rest of your life. How would you respond? A, be polite, but refuse to listen to his new scheme. B, listen to what the man has to say and then ignore him without considering his ideas, since, you know, he just brought you grief in the past. Or C, listen to his idea with a possibility, however slim, that it may be worthwhile. Let's see, who shall we pick on this time? Any volunteers to comment on that? Ed, you're kind of a secret millionaire with lots of investment money. How would you respond?
Well, I would say that from my experience, I've fallen for several gimmicks like that, and I don't want any more of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there like that. I mean, you're in your 80s, so somebody, seasoned citizen like yourself that's led a normal financial life has probably encountered a number of people like that. But Ken, how would you respond?
Well, I've been in a few of those deals like that, and I lost my money every time. But I probably listened to him anyway for a while.
Yeah. There's I know every time somebody's approached me with a get rich quick thing, I haven't seen any of them that worked yet. So, but there's always the first one, you know, there's always Steve Jobs out there that might be knocking on your door. You never know. Okay, which of the following have you changed your opinion or belief on since the age of 18? A, your religion, your political party, birth control, abortion, capitalism or communism, the environment, nuclear arms or world peace, legalization of drugs, the foods you like, the type of person you want for a mate, global warming. Well, we got Ken here, his picture on the screen, so we'll ask him again. Have you changed your mind on any of those things since you're 18, Ken? Oh, you're muted, it sounds like.
Oh, I was saying when I was younger, I was more on the gullible side. But yeah, I'm open-minded, but I think things over a lot more now than I used to. And,
Yeah.
so some of those things, I see some things that are true now that I might not have seen 20, 30 years ago.
And how about you, Robin and Dave? Have you guys changed your mind on very much since you were 18?
Daily.
Still
I
changing,
didn't
huh?
have to. I didn't have to. I'm perfect, and I still believe that.
Well, good for you. Yeah. What's a big thing you've changed your mind on since you were young, Dave? Tell us just one thing.
I
On the spot.
would, pardon?
I'll put you on the spot.
That's fine. Actually, I would say my belief in God. I was an agnostic in my 20s.
Oh, were you? Oh,
Yes.
were you raised in a normal religion or by agnostic parents?
No.
or what?
Non-religion.
Okay.
We didn't go to church as a child.
Oh, okay.
I went to church the the Sunday after JFK was assassinated. And I didn't go again
So I did.
till Robin dragged me to the Mormon church.
Did you join the Mormon church?
I did.
Yeah. At least they kind of give you the idea that there was a higher power, huh?
They did. I think I was 50 something when I got baptized.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the advantages that the churches do, right? Is they do acknowledge a higher power, which is true. And I call the churches of the world our kindergartens for learning. They're the first step of real learning. You get in a church and you get some of the basics down, that there's a higher power, that there is such a thing as Christ, whether out there or in there, and that there is communication available to higher beings. And there's certain things the church has. Also, they stress generosity, thinking outside yourself. And so the churches have some real basics down that is important that we incorporate as we're going through the kindergarten. But then when you get them down, what happens is they just repeat them over and over and over. So you get the same message over and over, and after a while you start thinking, boy, it's got to be something more, you know. And it gets boring just hearing the same message over and over. So eventually you want to do something else. Okay, anybody else want to comment on a change that they've had in their viewpoint since they were 18?
Well,
I think
I was just
we look,
thinking,
if we look at it,
Okay.
go ahead,
Oh,
Rick.
I was just gonna say, I don't think I've changed my way of doing things since the 1700s. I'm still the same guy I was then.
Right. So you're a lot, you think you progressed from your past life?
Oh, yeah.
What do you
We
think?
have technology now. I can do all that stuff on the cell phone here.
Yeah. But now, were you ever religious at all when you were younger?
Myself,
Yeah.
we went to Catholic church. I went to a parochial school until the 5th grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were heavily indoctrinated. I had my own personal beliefs about it. You know, I felt in touch with God or something up there.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like inside of my head or wherever my thinking is going on, there's always been like a committee meeting, and my soul's been one of the members of the committee. So I've always felt connected.
How old were you when you started looking outside of your religion?
Well, I never really considered it outside my religion. I'll still admit I'm Catholic, but I just don't go to the churches and all that and do the ceremonies. One thing I do religiously anymore is I turn the lights off at night at the same order every night.
Oh, dear. Okay. Now, I think Stacy, was that you, Stacy, that had a comment? Somebody had a comment. I thought it was Stacy. Maybe had to take a break. Okay, don't know if we have time for the next one. But well, let's talk a little bit more about open-mindedness since we just got a couple minutes. Solomon, let's pick on Solomon. How about you? Have you changed your mind on different beliefs since you were younger?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I was born into a Christian family, and I followed my mom, my guidance to church all through. But I didn't think I had any experience. I didn't have any spiritual experience, something, you know, that kind of awakening until in my 20s in the university, I got to see young people like me preaching, and I made up my mind that I was going to take this path, you know, logically. Before I was just going to church, come out of church and stuff like that. That was a major turning point in my life. It was June 12th, 1986. The Christian fold here, they call it being born again. So I had the experience of being born again. So I read my Bible, read the first Bible, it became torn, bought the second Bible, read it up and down. Then suddenly I got tired and I was like asking a lot of questions. So, you know, another major change came again, and I found out that I can't remain in the church system, that the system does not present exactly what I am looking for. So I joined a small group that discusses the Bible outside the context of the church. So it was where I was when I got the knowledge from Annalise Carey's book. That was another major change in my life. I got a lot of books from Annalise Carey. For the first time I heard about immortality. I got exhausted and asking a lot of questions about immortality. So I typed immortality on the internet, and what came up was your book, The Immortal, book 1.
Oh, really?
And from your book, Immortal,
Did that change your thinking?
completely, you know, and that is what introduced me to these books. Reading your book, The Immortal, and listening to your discussions, I just to hear you talk about AAB's book, the quotes. So I had to go and check all those books. So that is a major, major turning point, you know, in my life. And it took me away completely from the traditional religious system into seeking the spiritual path.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Well, we're certainly glad that you changed your thinking and you're here, Solomon. Yeah. Okay. Stacy, did you have a comment?
Yeah, earlier, when you're talking about the 10 reasons or 10 changes, I think if we all think about it, we've changed in every way that's mentioned there. You know, like I was saying that you change all the time, but everybody from since they were 18 years old, they've had a change of everything, all their thoughts, all their beliefs, all their aches, pains, likes, dislikes. Their whole world's changed, changes all the time. So in answer to the question, has anything changed in you since you're 18? I think everybody could say yes. All 10 of those factors have changed. It changes, we change continuously. We'll always change.
Yeah,
So we change out of the
everybody.
I don't climb on roofs anymore.
Everybody changes some, but on the other hand, there's some people still the same religion they were born into, and still, unlike Rick, where he's a Catholic, but he's expanded. They're standard Catholic, you know, or standard Mormon, or standard Pentecostal, or whatever, or standard Democrat, standard Republican, just like their parents. And but if you're a different political thinker than your parents, that's an indicator that you've been open-minded in your life. If you're a different religion than your parents, or a different spiritual thinker, that's an indication. If you think different than your parents taught you on almost anything, that's a really good indication that you're open-minded. Now with me, my some of the things from my parents I incorporate, and some I do not. I'll end with a story of my parents. And when my brother got to be about 15 or 16, my mom, he was a good-looking kid, and girls were attracted to him. And so she told my dad, she says, well, I think you need to have a talk with Bill because, you know, he's approaching that age and he needs good parental advice about how to handle life and everything. And my dad was really unusual guy. So my dad takes him in the bedroom and my mom listens at the door, and here's what he said to my brother Bill. He says, Bill, I got some advice for you. He says, don't get tied down to an old lady the way that I did. He says, you're young right now. He says, go out, eat, drink, and be merry and have a good time. Have a good time while you're young and can enjoy it. And that's what my brother did. My brother took that to heart and he went and had a good time. And my mom was really upset. So my mom did everything she could to keep my dad from giving me advice. She never asked him to give me advice. Matter of fact, I didn't ask much for advice from him myself. I did ask one favor of him one time. I says, Dad, would you teach me how to swim? And he said, yeah, I'll teach you how to swim the same way I did. We'll go out in the middle of the lake and I'll throw you in and you'll either learn to swim or die. I says, well, wait, no, that's okay. Don't worry about it. But anyway, my dad was quite a character. I've got his autobiography if you want to read it. If you start reading his autobiography and read for 10 minutes, you will not be able to stop. It's pretty fascinating. But he was quite a character. Okay.
When I want to test people's open-mindedness, I asked them if they'd ever heard about the fact that our Father who art in heaven is a cyclops that came from here from Venus 23 million years ago. That's a real test on anybody's open-mindedness.
Yeah, that certainly is, isn't it? Yeah, it's amazing how my readers are open to some of the things I put in there. Okay, everybody, you've been a great group, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Sunday at 2 p.m. Until then, everybody have a great week.